Meep Meep. Roadrunner is a 1985 arcade game by Atari, originally going to be a Laserdisc based game that was shelved and it was turned into a more conventional side-scrolling game with normal graphics. And thanks to Andy Magic Knight, who's captured some footage with his camera phone from his jammer board of the arcade machine. And I must apologise, I do sound a little bit ill today because, well, I'm a little bit ill. The home versions we're going to look at today were published by US Gold, apart from the PC version, which was done by Mindscape in the USA. Released in 1987, and there are lots of double-page adverts from US Gold, glossy, colourful artwork. We start on the C64. It is a multi-load game on the 8-bits. You know the plot of Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote wants to eat you, and in the game you have to collect seed, and you can only skip 5 bits of seed on the level before Roadrunner faints. So that graphic at the top there with the 5 bowls of seed indicates how many lives per life, so to speak, you have left. You've got to be very precise on this version, picking up the seed. You have to go right over it to pick it up. And Wile E. Coyote has inertia and can be run over by other objects and various things, just like the cartoon. Over to the Spectrum. Run this on a +2, but it's a 48K only game. Jim Bagley did this version apparently. And Canvas did the ports for US Gold, who of course never did anything in-house. You make a meep noise when you pick up the seed. Very narrow screen, very narrow. Note the use, you've been caught by Wile E. Coyote there, so you lose a life. Note the use of the system font. You've got a separate font for the seed meter, but the lives, levels, and you missed seed icons, graphics are system fonts. Very easy to get jammed on the scenery on the Specky. And can be very, very hard to pick up the seed, which makes this game very annoying to play, to be honest. And the colour clashing when you go over areas of colour is particularly bad. You just can't pick up certain bits of seed. Over to the Amstrad CPC. I bought this game on holiday down in Bournemouth, and I could never get it to load on my 6128, only on my cousin's 464. I remember it being very colourful, but not being much to write home about. But let's see, because I've not seen this for nearly 30 years. And indeed, it's very colourful. No music, but you've got sound effects. CPC's palette really suited these cartoon-style games. The high-tech games from Hanna-Barbera also suit the CPC very well. Everything's very clear, and it's much easier to pick up seed than the Spectrum or C64 version. There's a trick in that if you keep Wile E. Coyote on the screen, he won't come racing back on motorised roller skates. Over to the ST. And this should be able to replicate the arcade machine very well. The arcade game I remember playing, it wasn't anything to write home about either. It was quite frustrating. Nice graphics, and one unusual thing about this game is it goes from right to left, which feels weird. I suppose they wanted to do something different, but I just feel it makes it, well, it's a change as good as the rest, I suppose. But you can't, when you're running at the point where the Roadrunner is scrolling the screen, you can barely see anything ahead of you. If a car comes past at this stage, you're not going to be able to see it to avoid it. Even on the ST, the screen's quite narrow. Over to the PC, running this on my Amstrad PC 2086. It's an EGA game, not done by US Gold and Canvas in the UK, but by Mindscape in the USA. And if you look at those controls and thinking there's 10 keys to control Roadrunner, yes. If you play the game and you hold down a key like you would on any other computer, the keyboard buffer or the keyboard starts screaming at you, so you only press the key once to go in a particular direction, and you have to do the diagonals as well. You can't combine left and up to make it go diagonal. You have to press, in this case, to go left and up, 7, and then 4 to go left, 8 to go up, which is really weird. You also see the game doesn't run particularly fast. It's quite jerky, and this makes no odds what system you're running it on. I ran this on a Windows XP box with a Pentium 4, and it was exactly the same speed. It's clock locked. It runs at this rate regardless if it's on this V30 or if it's on a Pentium 4. Has beeper tune, which gets on your nerves very quickly. This in theory should be able to run as well as the ST version, but it just doesn't. Level 2 on the C64, very frantic music. And Wile E Coyote's going to have a rocket there, and I'm getting jammed in the scenery. And again, it's very difficult to predict which way Wile E Coyote is going to come. So again, like with the cars, if Wile E Coyote comes in on the same level as you here, you've got little chance of getting out the way. Cross the Specky. And this is the end of level 1, and very easy to get jammed on the scenery. You'll just generally get lost. It's very colourful, but of course that works against it with the colour clash. And level 2. And again, look at that colour clash. It's really, yeah. Now, we got to pick up... Oh, no. Wile E Coyote's run into me. Start that one again. Okay, up we go. Go there, and no warning at all. We can hear the sound effect, he's around, but you don't know he's going to come on the screen there. So again, you instantly lose a life. Let's go up here and try and pick up this seed. And I can't! And I can't! It's just... Oh! Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Everything's going wrong at once. Colour clash is horrific. And I just cannot pick up that seed, and you need to pick up all the seeds. I mean, you get 5 chances to miss them, but you'll be missing them all the time. And Jim Bagley, who coded this Spectrum version, replied to me on Twitter the other day and said the problem is apparently he did the seed collision detection in 3D and it doesn't really work, and they didn't have time to properly finish the game. So, I mean, that makes sense because it just doesn't feel right. There's no kind of playtesting gone into this because this stuff, or if there was, they certainly didn't get time to fix any of these issues. Onto the CPC where you can see what's going on and you can pick up seed. And you just thank your lucky stars this isn't a specky port. It is a, for all intents and purposes, and oh no. It is, for all intents and purposes, a discrete CPC version, even if the play window is very, very small and disguised by that big border. Back to the ST. There is no Amiga version, by the way. It's one of those early 16-bit games where the ST got a version, but the Amiga didn't. Oh, just missed him. And this bit's really frustrating now because Wile E Coyote's on a pogo stick and you have to run around all this area here, and he can jump over some of the bits you can't, so you can get trapped very, very easily. This isn't the fault of the home versions, it's the fault of the arcade machine design. Back to the Amstrad PC. As a static screen, this looks perfectly fine. Once you start playing it, it's not really a problem with the jerkiness. It's the controls that kill it, really. And no more section is going to be obvious than what's coming up here. I'm basically trying to use left, right, up and down, and not use diagonals because it's too fiddly, but you do get jammed in the scenery. And you can hear the keyboard screaming as I'm holding down too many keys at once. I would blame the computer, but I think it's a coding issue. Something they could have coded around, because I don't recall other PC games having this issue with holding down keys. There are various obstacles on the way. Boulders fall down. Later on we'll see mines laid. There can be seed as iron filings in it that Wile E. Coyote can use a giant magnet to pull you back towards him. And there are sections we have to jump over things as well. You can also pick up lemonade for a health boost, and you can become invisible at some stages as well, so Wile E. Coyote can't see you. The trouble is, if you're porting a pedestrian arcade machine, then you're on a hiding to nothing with the home versions. All you can do is really do the best you can. And I think, oh, can you go? You can't go through there. I mean, I do like the border on this CPC version. It disguises just how tiny the play window actually is. Didn't Canvas also do Beachhead on the CPC for US Gold? I think they did. There's nothing really to make you want to come back and do a little bit better. It's just run around. It's not as fun as a Roadrunner game could be. Ah, right, now we're going to get stuck in the scenery, aren't we? On the Spectrum version. Mr. Seed, can't pick a seed up. You should just be able to pick a seed up as soon as you touch it. Bang, bang, bang. It completely destroys any remaining fun in the game when you're having to circle around and round and round and round in order to pick up the seed. Atari ST. And a bit further on level 2, and now you get cannons and things that shoot that you have to avoid, but you can use to lure Wile E. Coyote into. Oh, there you go. You see, killed him, and I got points for that, but now I'm dead. Because I got hit there because I couldn't see what was coming up ahead, because you get no warning. You get about 10% of the screen space to see what's happening. So it becomes a memory test. Luckily, the game doesn't kick you back when you die to the start of the level. It takes you back to some predetermined start point. Oh, he's getting hammered several times there. But I bet the problem is I now die. Yep, you see I lost a life there because the game's a bit unfair. Level 3 on the 64, and you get this annoying maze section where, again, because you can't see ahead, you've got to guess which route to take, and there is no logic to it. You just have to remember and go back and do it correctly the second time. And on the 64, Wile E. Coyote is very hard to avoid when close up, unlike the Amstrad version, where you can get away with this section a bit better. You see, wrong route there, which way? You couldn't see. My sprite is now invisible on the Spectrum. I get why they would want colour in a game like this, but you could probably keep the main play area 2 colour and then have all this lovely colour around the outside. The kind of thing High-Tech did with the Hanna-Barbera licenses, because otherwise you'll end up in a colour clashing mess, like you can see here. Amstrad PC 2086 with the beeper. It's now going to be able to miss a seed. Just trying to keep on having to do a payoff here between collecting seeds and just getting far enough away from Wile E. Coyote. But this is getting really frustrating with all the diagonals now. And now we come to one of the most difficult sections of the game where you have to jump over ledges. And you can't lure Wile E. Coyote down them because he's got a helicopter. So you can't have that famous sequence where he falls down, right? And you got to time it very, very precisely. Try again. The arcade machine, by the way, has a dedicated Meep Meep button. But on the home versions, it just goes Meep Meep when you jump. Much easier on the 64. Much easier. Works as it should do. And at this point, you get to level 5 and the game starts looping around just with more power-ups and more obstacles in the way. And it becomes the point where you just basically realise that you've seen everything. Those little swirly things on the ground are landmines. The game does have one neat feature. You can continue for about 5 attempts at your previous end of game point. If you start off on level 1, you run up to the top of the screen and go through the caves, you will return to where you last died and you'll get an extra bonus life. That's quite neat. Roadrunner was an arcade game that cashed in on the appeal of the original cartoon, and it had colourful graphics to match. However, the gameplay was extremely disappointing, particularly unoriginal, and didn't really capture the spirit of the original cartoon. And the problem is when you're porting a mediocre arcade game, what you end up with is a mediocre or worse home port. Arguably the ST and C64 versions do the best of converting this game to the home systems, but they're nothing to write home about, with the ST being the closest graphically to the arcade. The Spectrum and Amstrad versions, well, the Spectrum version is really an unfinished game. It's incredibly hard to pick up the seed, and it makes it so frustrating. I can't get this across, where you're going over the same bit of seed again, again, again. And that's before you get jammed in the scenery or your sprite disappears. It's astonishing this game got the marks it did at the time, with good marks, 70s and 80s. But then again, as you'll recall, US Gold had booked lots of double-page spreads in all the big magazines, which would of course guarantee good reviews. Crash. The Amstrad version's nice and colourful and doesn't have the problems of the Spectrum versions. You can pick up your corn, but it's still pedestrian gameplay and no reason to keep coming back to it. The PC version's slower than it needs to be. Looks visually appealing actually. If you look at a static screen, it's when you start to play it, it falls apart with the slow update rate, no matter what speed of PC you're on, from an 8086 right up to a Pentium 4, it runs at the same speed, or at least it did here with the versions I used. And really annoying controls, using 10 keys when 5 would have done, and you can't even hold those keys down either without the PC screaming at you that you've filled the keyboard buffer up. Roadrunner, a mediocre arcade game and a mediocre home conversion, which in the case of the Spectrum is unfinished and should never have been let out the door.